Sounds good.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always too close and you're always too far away. So this probably works.
Pretty much.
I'll probably go like this. All right, here we go. You ready?
Sure.
Make your noises. Gotta get our 5 seconds of quiet. I know it's hard for you. Why, hello.
Hey there.
So speaking of 5 seconds of quiet
And
and how it's tough for some members of this family.
I was going to say, you mean it doesn't exist in this house?
It doesn't really. But our daughter just came back from retreat and she exhibited a very daddy-like trait. It was kind of cute seeing it happen. What do you think happened? She just came in the door from retreat and she exhibited something daddy-like.
She went grumble, grumble, and then went straight to the bathroom, and you haven't seen her again?
No, it's quite the opposite.
Lots of hugs and kisses?
No.
Was she complaining about the legislative system?
No.
I don't know.
I feel like I'm going to be sleeping on the couch tonight.
Uh-oh.
No, she just had total mouth explosion about everything that happened.
Oh, okay.
It was like a stream of consciousness.
So she was excited.
She's very excited. She had to share everything, but it was like the excitement bullets were going off in her brain. So not everything was totally connected. And I'm tired. I'm pregnant. So I'm just sitting there in the chair. And I mean, I love seeing her excited, and I can still, looking at her face with the excitement, see our little 2-year-old daughter, sitting there. I can see her there through this 14-year-old young lady. Yeah, she was very excited to share everything and not in any particular order that made any sense to me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she was very excited.
Well,
and exhausted and achy.
She probably slept the entire way down the mountain with her uncle. And
no, she didn't.
She didn't.
She kept Uncle Tyler awake.
Oh, wow.
By talking with him. So.
So she mouth exploded on him too.
I think we'll have to ask him that. I feel like I would have fallen asleep and driven off the road if I were driving down after going on a middle school retreat and having a mouth explosion for an hour and a half in the car at me. That would be dangerous.
That's what Cherry Coke and loud Christian rap's for.
Yes. Your solution to everything.
It is.
All problems. Cherry Coke and Christian rap.
Or Christian metal.
Or Christian metal.
Or Christian hip hop.
I'm really tired of you suggesting that as the solution to all my problems. Especially because I can't have Cherry Coke right now.
I'm going to come in one day and it's just going to be yeah. You're like, it's not working.
It's never worked. Except for the Cherry Coke sometimes. I do recall you bringing me a Cherry Coke and 2 Excedrins when I had my first migraine and I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Right after we were married. Well, it was not right after we were married. It was
in
that early stage.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I had Christina already, and I'm like, I thought I had a stomach bug, but you knew what was going on. And I'm like, but I feel like I'm going to throw up, but my head also feels like it's going to split open and an alien's going to emerge. And you're like, here's your Cherry Coke. Put that coat over your head, take these Excedrin, and then go lay down when we get home. Mm-hmm. You had to come pick me up from work.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so you have solved my problems with Cherry Coke before.
Yes, just no music.
No, that was not a good ad for that day.
No.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't be alive now.
Probably not. I mean, an alien would have erupted out of your head, so that would have been the end of the world.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Kit.
I'm Dale.
Welcome to Catholic Hitch. We are a Catholic family seeking heaven and hoping to pick up others along the way.
Small talk. So we are ever so slowly getting ready for this little baby to come. If I had a quarter for every time someone asked me when you're due and how long you have, I think I'd at least have $1, maybe $2.
Okay, so that implies you've been asked less than 8 times, which
thereabouts.
Sounds less impressive than when you set up with, if I had a blank for every time a blank.
Well, it's only when I'm at church that question happens, which is like 3 times that I've been in church in the last week. Maybe 4 times. So At least twice a night, I'm asked.
Yes.
At least. Maybe I have $3. I don't know.
Maybe. I would have a few bucks, I'd say, at least.
Yeah. So I'm very well versed in knowing that you have 5 weeks. Even though it's less, I tell everybody it's 5 weeks.
I started today to say 4.5 because I'm counting half weeks now. So yeah, you got some stuff done this week.
I did. Well, the weather's finally been somewhat behavioral of Colorado. And so I got around to getting the project that I really wanted to get done, which was sanding down the top rail of the crib where all the teeth marks have been from all of our children, gnawing on it, in that, 8-month, 9-month period of their baby career. Except for Christina. She's the only one that didn't. She just decided to climb right out. She's like, I'm out of here. We were talking last night at a party, and they were mentioning like how you get to that point when they start to want to climb out, and you have to lay out the pillows. I'm like, oh yeah, the thud. I remember when that happens. It's like you have all these pillows around, and all of a sudden you're, it's like, yes, this is what happens when you try to climb out. Except for Christina, who just went up the baby changer, down the shelves, and then was in our room and looking at us, and we're like, what just happened? This is the first baby, so this is abnormal to us. What just happened? Do all babies do this? This is crazy.
We have a lot of starers in our children. Like, get up in the middle of the night and stare at you next to the bedside. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if there's something in our genetic blend.
I don't know. This is why I'm always the closest to the door, because then I'm the one that deals with it. Because I'm a zombie when I wake up in the middle of the night, and I can just tell them to go back to bed and go to sleep myself.
Well, speaking of other ways to look at children while they're sleeping, you did something else.
Oh, yeah. So, ordered on Amazon an Amazon Choice camera for the baby. It doesn't need Wi-Fi. It doesn't need anything to do with the cloud. It doesn't work on a phone, but it has a full monitor with like a pan, tilt, zoom video camera that's in their room. Everything's wireless. So I ordered it thinking, because I think there was a snowstorm the next day. I was thinking it would, come about 10, 11 in the morning because it said it would, which I don't care. It's not like I need it immediately, but it came at midnight, which is a little scary, but there it was. So did the baby rail. So Terrence helped me sand down the top rail. We took it out in the garage, gave me an excuse to fire up the Camaro, which was nice because the weather was that good. Sanded it down and got the first coat of polyurethane, and we stained it. So it kind of looks like the tables now. It I think actually looks nicer than the weird poly stain stuff they put on it, which doesn't really look like wood, which was flaking off in our children's mouths as they were chewing on it. It's like, don't want that again. So we sanded it, sealed it, got to do another coat on it probably today. Well, the weather's nice, get one more on. And then the wild hair on Friday was, we've been talking about getting a rocker, which should be a recliner. So I did a little research Thursday night or Friday morning, and I had a couple picked out. We went over to the American Furniture Warehouse, and I ended up with a completely different chair.
That's why you go in person for furniture.
Well, so the criteria had to be that your head can lean back, your elbows are rested in a rest position on the arms, and you can still hold the baby. So therefore, selfishly, when I'm up in the middle of the night with a child, I can put them in there, knock my head back, lean a little bit, and pass out and not drop a baby, not have to lean over a little bit to get to the side, where the armchairs are. So it's not like a huge recliner, but it does have bells and whistles.
It's cup holders.
Yeah, it swivels. It's a swivel recliner. It has cup holders, and then it has the two arms open up, and you can put stuff in them. That was totally by, coincidence. Had nothing to do with the fact that the chair met the requirements. It was the only chair that really had that capability.
I believe you. You don't need to sell me anymore.
There were 40 chairs to choose from. And that's where I landed.
That's why you went, not me.
Yeah.
Because cranky pregnant lady would have been like, third chair, this is fine. I don't want to be here anymore.
Well, the basic requirement was those things and leather. Because you can't have fabric with children. It's just not plausible. It's not a good idea. It's like inviting them to eat mac and cheese with extra stringy cheese in it and then dump it all over it. I mean, that's what you get. I
have had to fuss at our children twice since you bought and assembled that thing that they cannot eat in it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I also, on a wild jaunt, went over to the clearance section of the rugs, and I picked up an 8x10 rug for the downstairs because we've been talking about it forever. And then I was like, I'm here. The recliner that I'm getting is actually $200 less than the one that I was looking at. So I was able to say, all right, I can actually spend less money and get more. Solve two things. Let's go. Let's do that. Yeah, we
removed trip hazards from all the surround sound cords that are going over the ground.
Yeah. Save my surround sound system by not ripping the cables out of the back of it. That sounds good. But it was just so, it's like a short pile, I think is the best way. It's not like,
it's not Berber.
It's not like a Berber because they don't make those in carpet, like in rugs. You can only get those in just broadloom, big rolls, and you cut it and it has a weird edge. But it has a little pattern to it. It has a little bit of the blues of our couches down there, a little bit of white and gray, so it doesn't look too bad. And I did notice significantly when I put it down that the sound was quieter.
Makes sense.
Acoustics. It's amazing. I can geek out as an architect.
Yep.
Whoa, dog.
Oh my
goodness gracious.
You gotta let her out to go kill
there's a bunny.
Rabbit.
Oh my, okay.
This is what we get for not locking the dog up before we start podcasting.
You gonna get it? You gonna get it? You gonna get it?
So on that note, I think I might call it...
Go get it.
It's the most vocal our dog ever gets.
And she lost it.
She always does. It outsmarts her. As soon as she figures out what it's doing, she's gonna kill it. But
I know.
She hasn't learned yet.
No. Well, she goes through the big hole. It goes through the little hole, and then double backs. Yep. It goes out the front.
It uses physics to its advantage,
Every
knowing
time.
that it can change direction much faster than she can at her mass. And she's a rather small dog, but she's still bigger than a rabbit. So every time it's the same tactic, and she just has not wised up onto it yet.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, okay. On that note,
big talk.
So I've been watching a show that has slightly annoyed you, or more than slightly annoyed you.
I can't watch it. I just can't do it. I see, well, we'll talk about it.
Yes.
Things, but I don't like reality TV to begin with. Documentary TV, I'm totally cool with.
I know this.
But not when there are people that are going to judge you and oust you out. Not my thing.
I know. So already there was like some cards stacked against it. And I'd have to say I'm not much of one for reality TV normally. But I think I put it on because I was otherwise going to fall asleep or something. And I ended up, it kind of fascinated me. So I think I'll put it in the title so it won't be a huge surprise when we get to this. But I'm talking about The Parent Test, which is an ABC original reality show that evidently has just happened because I started watching it presuming that I could watch through the whole thing, and then suddenly it disappeared and I'm like, where is it? Because it was still releasing episodes.
Oh.
So I got through like the first 4 episodes and then I had to wait for them to release.
No binging for you.
No binging for me. And that was probably good. So the premise of this show is that parents all have their own style. And what style makes the most effective child? And in order to evaluate effectiveness, they put these families through very deliberate tests. And, given the nature of testing a family, it limits what kind of content they can cover. Mm-hmm. So some of the tests were, actually quite a lot of tests were stranger danger type of tests, like kidnapping tests. That was the most prevalent type of test.
Okay.
But So, like, whether your kid would...
I don't understand how that does anything except for evidence to the judge that you're a horrible parent if you don't do those things.
If you don't do what things?
Tell your kids about strangers and how to deal with strangers.
Well, and I'd say that's where I disliked that particular test being so prevalent because... And I think they just wanted to make sure every family group got presented with a stranger danger test of some variety.
So what you're saying is the lawyers who were watching this show said, wait. No, we have to make sure we cover this so that we're covered and it doesn't look like we're proponents of having kids kidnapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was very artificial and I think unrealistic. And I was reflecting upon that this morning and I thought, there'd be a more realistic way for this to go down if we're going to really talk about like a stranger kidnapping your child. Because they did not use the internet or grooming tactics in any way. And I thought about that and I'm like, it's probably good that they're not trying to effectively like showcase kids resisting real life kidnapping because we don't need to share grooming tactics with like the U.S. audience.
No.
So I did think about that. I'm like, they probably did maybe kick around a lot of different tests and then come up with maybe we should actually limit it to these for particular reasons. So some of the tests were about asking the children to be brave and do some kind of a feat that was a little hard, like so a high dive, jumping off the high dive, climbing up a climbing wall, holding a snake. So it kind of challenged the kids to come out of their comfort zone. And then the test was like, how do they parent through that challenge to support their kids and get their kids to, see the goal? There was a lot of little tests. Yeah, I know. You're shaking your head. You don't like the idea. What do you think I disliked? Oh, wait. I haven't even gotten to some of this.
You keep going.
So...
I'm just going to barf a little bit over here and it'll be fine.
Well, there's a reason I'm bringing this up in Big Talk.
Yes.
So the other thing about the show is every parent had their declared one-word style. So I'm going to read the styles off to you. So everyone had to identify their style. So we have natural, helicopter, routine, negotiation, high achievement, I guess that one's a 2-word, intensive, child-led, traditional, strict, disciplined, free range, and new age. So those were all the particular styles. And spoiler alert for anyone that's going to watch this show, we are going to talk about who won and who was eliminated quickly. But those were the, nouns that the contestant parents had to identify.
Their preferred nouns.
For the show.
For parenting.
So, or maybe it's adjective. Anyway, so they all had to identify their little...
It would be preferred adjectives, wouldn't they? Yes. Not preferred nouns.
I know. I'm the one that said noun.
They're all parents, which is the noun.
Yes. And it was interesting. There was one example of a single father and one example of a single mother in the show. But otherwise, it was all couples. So...
Of different varieties? Or?
Well, there was one like same-sex couple, and otherwise it was all heterosexual couples.
Okay.
So more traditional. So it wasn't... I didn't feel like they were trying to pander to a specific agenda. Like, it didn't feel like it was... outcomes were being contrived. So in that way, I felt it was fair. But what do you think I automatically disliked about the idea of all of these parents, adopting adjectives?
It creates a lens at which they all filter themselves through at that point in time.
Yes. And there's even, I'd say, more. So you're identifying what you are and what you, quote unquote, are not.
Immediately.
Like, right off the bat. So we have 12 sets of parents come in, and a lot of these words actually sound pretty similar, and that reflects the fact that a lot of the parenting styles were very similar. And I disliked it because it was diabolical in the divisive nature of identifying what you are and then preparing to critique a parent that has a different quote-unquote style.
Okay, so I will say my biggest beef with the show, because I think it's pertinent at this point. This is a show where people who are watching mostly are relativists. And so they're like, okay, cool. this show is going to show me how, the best people can do this. And therefore, that must be the best way to raise a child. It creates as close to an absolute truth that you can get in a relativistic society. So whoever wins this show becomes the best parent, and therefore everyone else should parent that way.
I'd say, yeah, if you were going to boil it down, that's probably like the elevator pitch when it comes to like the negative lens on this show. But I do, in defense of the show, they were very generous as far as saying, we are all learning from each other and acknowledging the fact that like pretty much every strategy was like effective in the end, but you had to pick a winner. So a lot of people won their challenge, or a lot of people, were compelling in their approach. But I disliked the idea of styles because I guess you and I have talked about this before. Like, you do what needs to be done to parent your child.
There is no such thing as style.
Yes,
because
I dislike the
every
idea.
child is different.
Yeah.
Every child has a different need. Some children you have to negotiate with. Some you have to strong arm. Some you have to challenge. Some you can't challenge for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, really, you can't monocrop this one.
Yeah. So there was a couple of the styles that were very specifically through that lens. Like the style that they declared for themselves was very representative of their approach and what I would say that means is, instead of it being their parenting style, it was actually representing a value for their family. Mm-hmm. So like the high achievement parent, his value for his son, that he said again and again and again and again, he wants him to represent Black excellence. So his son is like
no pressure.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And I would say, yeah, that's a style, but it actually is more of a value of that parent.
Yeah.
And you had the traditional style where they, are maybe traditional is more their value system. That it was a Jewish family. So they're trying to like raise their children in a community surrounded by those traditional values of their like culture and their religion. Mm-hmm. They really kind of stayed away from religious content for the most part. There was one family that was seen saying grace before they ate. So that's about as far as they went toward any kind of like religiosity, which would be problematic, I think, for most of us, because I don't know, when you think about, what is your style? I know our approach has been like, we have to parent these kids and every kid is different. So there's some repeatable lessons that we have from our children. But for the most part, we've had to kind of reinvent the approach for every child and customize it.
Yeah, the one key is that we were raising them as disciples of Christ. Hands down.
So you're kind of like beating me a little bit to some of the points. So let me list the styles again, and you can take 2 guesses. So guess based on your most jaded sense of our culture, like the most negative lens you could possibly think of our culture, of which family won. So I'm going to read it in reverse order. So New Age, free range, disciplined, strict, traditional, child-led, intensive, high achievement, negotiation, routine, helicopter, and natural. So think like culturally, and you have kind of a negative view of our culture and where we're going sometimes.
Oh, negotiation one hands down.
Okay, so that's what you would think. If
absolutely.
You're thinking just from our cultural lens. Okay.
From a cultural lens, yes. Negotiation wins.
All right. Now think about what you know as being the best parenting tactics. So think about it from that lens. Like, what would you say if you were to pick like an approach? Which of these would be the winner?
From which lens?
From just our experience of being a parent, that would probably represent most people's experience. What adjective do you think maybe would have won? So not being the jaded, like thinking of the culture, but thinking like realistically, which style would grow the best?
Oh, helicopter.
Helicopter. Interesting.
That's if I'm like going to put on the lens of what most people would do. It's a helicopter.
Okay,
you
what
control
about
the
us?
kids.
Like
traditional.
Okay.
I don't know.
So the one that won.
Silly. All of it.
Is the disciplined family. And it's actually a single mom. Like, really fascinating to see her daughter. And it was actually technically her adopted daughter because it was her brother's child, and her brother OD'd. And she had a very rough upbringing, and her whole approach, again, her style, her vision of this, situation was, I'm going to raise this girl so that she has boundaries, so that she knows that, like, I am an authority, but also that that she can trust me to raise her well.
Dominion,
and so,
not domination.
Yes. So isn't that fascinating?
It is fascinating. I still, again, have trouble with it because it highlights and says, oh, okay, well, obviously being a single parent is the best way to be.
No, but it was...
And raising your I'm sorry. It just, again, it triggers me because from afar off, it feels like it's not doing justice to real parenting. It has nothing to do with real parenting.
It doesn't.
It's a
well,
show.
This is a show for sure. But it was kind of fascinating to me that the disciplined parent is the one that won. When you think about America,
discipline. Shocker. That's a crazy thought.
That's what I was saying.
Would actually do something for children when they do something and there's a consequence to doing such a thing. Maybe they learn from that. That's just, I've never heard of such an idea.
So that's what I was trying to lead you into like that. Because when you realize, you're like, duh, that's the way that most parents find that they're going to get some kind of a result, is that there's a discipline, which means that you're going to have a firm boundary and you're going to be consistent about what happens when that boundary is crossed, right?
Yeah.
That's being disciplined.
Yeah, it's like stuff we've heard from Dr. Ray Grindy all the time, right? And it seems to work.
It'd be fun to have a drink with him and watch this show and just see his response.
I would love to have him commentate over this show. It would be hilarious.
Yeah, he should consider it.
That'd be great. Consider it.
He could do a YouTube commentary video.
He totally could.
So, I mean, there were some things that really rubbed me the wrong way. There was a psychologist that kind of drove the show. And so, of course, we have to have like the psychologist's response to all of these different scenarios. And that's where you see...
Because they really understand the human mind.
Well, and it's like, that reminded me a lot of Dr. Ray because, he's always saying, the experts don't actually know what they're talking about. And their opinions blow around with the wind. And if you follow their advice, you're going to like grow up little sociopaths. So, the psychologist had to intervene, and he was very well spoken. It wasn't awful, but he definitely set some norms in place so that it restricted, I think, assessing true parenting situations. Like there was, of course, the obligatory spanking lecture.
Mm-hmm.
And they did the hand raising of who spanks, and then all of the spankers were shamed.
Of course they were.
Because it was completely connected with spanking and anger. Like
spanking is bad, okay?
And that it's literally you taking your anger out on your child, which we've spanked,
which has
but we've
nothing
never
to do with it.
No,
ever.
I hated it when we have had to spank, but there's been a few situations that we've had to, and it's a big deal. Like there's been an egregious wrong for a spanking to happen. Like they put themselves or a sibling in danger,
big danger,
or grave disrespect. Right? Like really bad stuff.
Yes.
And we haven't had to do that for years. But I do not spank when I'm angry. I've not seen you spank angry.
No.
It's when we're like, crap, did this really happen? Shit, we have to like pull out the spanking. Yeah, that's what we got to do now.
It's not like the world, the secular world especially, thinks that spankers are just these angry, horrible, abusive people. Yeah. It's like, actually,
and
no.
there are people that abuse their children.
It's the same thing as, okay, son.
I wouldn't call that spanking.
We're going to learn how to play baseball. When you play baseball, especially with the young kids, the pitcher, who can't barely like aim at the catcher, is going to hit you with the ball. It's going to happen. You're going to get hit with the ball. You need to understand what that feels like to get hit with the ball. So I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to throw it at you so that you understand what it feels like and you are prepared for it and can deal with it when it happens.
Well, and I think it also teaches a child to really try to have some self-control to not try to hit people with a ball.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Like, so
that's the other side of that coin.
That they have some empathy.
But to do that, the society says, no, you can't do that to a child. You can't throw a ball at them. Yeah. That's abuse. It's like, actually, no, it's not abuse. It is a gift to them because then when it happens to them, because it will, they'll be prepared to know, ow, this hurts a lot. And what do? I don't get angry at them for hitting me. I don't cry like I'm, a little baby, and then I'm in front of every one of my friends and all these parents, and I'm crying, and
yeah, you have that mortification.
It helps them to deal with it and know, okay, this is gonna hurt. They sniffle still, then they take their base. Like, it's different, but the world says you can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the best example I can give.
So the other discussion that was very like the psychologist led, and it was again a norming discussion. And when I say that, I mean
a woke discussion.
No. It's the psychologist, instead of allowing open discussion to happen with the parents, he inserts the like proper opinion to have and what is the right response
as the scientist.
Yes. So I disliked those moments because it removed the organic discussion, and which was very, very interesting. The parents discussing among themselves and being critical or observant of each other, or being like, what is that when you support someone, being supportive of someone else's approach.
Yeah.
So that was nice, but the psychologist comes in and decides to norm. The other discussion that he brought up was whether you should teach your child to defend themselves.
You're damn right you should.
Yeah, and that was the common consensus, but his opinion was, well, when you teach a child to defend themselves, then we are seeing more and more mass shootings. And people think, okay, I got bullied. I'm going to go home to my parents' gun cabinet and bring a gun back, and I'm going to kill everyone.
Yes.
Which, again, is like way across the line, right? It's, again, conflating spanking with child abuse. You're conflating, like, self-defense in the moment with someone that's going to go be a psychopath.
Well, you have to put on the lens of thinking about the psychiatrist that's doing this. What have they been taught in school?
Yeah.
Atheism, nihilism, things that go against the natural order of being. The human is nothing. We are nothing. We don't have meaning or purpose. So when you do that, then of course you go, well, you hit that child. So therefore they killed all those people when they're in high school. Absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, our relationships in the world are contractual with each other.
Yeah,
and
it's a transaction.
Yes, transactional.
Yeah.
That there is no other meaning. So
no, that's crazy.
We talked a little bit about like styles versus values versus mission. And actually, I wanted to ask you, if we were, again, we would never do this, so don't freak out.
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
If we were to sign up for a program like this and have to give ourselves an adjective, what would you say our family, that we have a blank style, or that our style is blank?
Tongue in cheek, the rest of you are wrong. But if I had to be an adjective
for our actual family, not being silly.
Caring.
Okay. Do you know what I would use?
No sumos punctuales.
No, that's our family crest.
Well, I know, but
so I would use Catholic.
There we go.
Yeah. Which would mean that our application would be tossed out right away.
Oh, immediately. Yeah. What does that word mean? I don't know. It has something to do with religion. Just put that one over there in that pile we don't look at.
I would say
they're not Jewish and they're not Muslim, so we can't look at that. Like,
I know this is a hard discussion for you to have.
It is a hard discussion. That's why I have my bourbon and it's good.
So I would say, if we were to describe ourselves as our parenting style is a Catholic style.
Yes, we are Catholic.
Our values are that we're Catholic. And what would our mission be? Because a mission isn't just like a one word.
Saint Factory. Yep.
Or else a Catholic family seeking heaven and hoping to pick up others along the way.
Yeah, that's kind of the mission statement.
So it was a fascinating watch. I'm not a reality TV convert, so I'm not sure that I'll do a whole lot more if that show comes out again. But it was fascinating to watch and be kind of critical of. Watch with a critical eye, perhaps. And it did make me reflect on like how would our children do in these different situations. Yeah. It made me be critical of the tests and think these are testing very specific things, but the true danger to children in our modern world is actually suicide.
Yeah.
Like much higher
Despair,
rates.
loneliness.
That's the second highest cause of death for 10 to 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Is suicide.
Yeah.
So suicide comes when you have no meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how you can't evaluate some of these things in a reality TV show. How do you evaluate how meaningful your children think their lives are? But that's what really matters in the end. And, you know,
well, again, it goes back to, was it Sartre? Was that the guy's name? The philosopher, evil man, communist, that said that existence precedes essence. To say that you can decide who and what you are and how you will be, which isn't the truth.
Well, and it's even Descartes, right? I think,
yes.
therefore I am.
Yeah. Was that nominalism, I think, is when that started?
That's definitely your bag, not mine.
I don't know. I have to go back and
But yeah, he thought, okay, you
look.
only exist because you think.
Right.
That means that you have some
Yes.
kind of agency in your own existence.
Right, which is the whole conversation that's been happening since the 1500s, basically since the Renaissance.
Yeah. Well,
happened.
that's the justification for not only abortion, but for infanticide.
Oh, yes.
As well. Like up to age 2, you can, like, through psychological examinations, determine that a child lacks some of these things, and therefore, you know, maybe they don't have any being. They don't have any right to their life.
Yes.
If it's
you can
better
make a
for
leap.
everyone else that they die.
Right. You can make a leap of those things when there is no meaning or purpose, and there is no essence before an existence.
Yeah. So, I mean, the entire premise of the show, fascinating as it is, it can never actually attack what is truly going to be a good parenting method or a good parenting strategy. It can't, because you cannot create tests that reflect those things. How do you test meaning and values? How do you test and ages were all over the place. And that part was very contrived, but it's interesting culturally to see that this is a question that at least launched a TV show onto like a prime network that people they thought that there would be enough interest in, is like parenting styles.
I guess so, which is kind of crazy. That it reminds me of Garfield. Like, you remember Garfield? He would flip the channels, be like the all baking all the time channel, or stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, our world's actually gotten to that. A reality TV about parents and their parenting skills.
Yeah.
And so I will say hypocritically that all reality TV shows are horrible except for Forged in Fire. That's the only one that's allowable, because it's a test of your skill. You have to create a product, and then the product has to actually physically do what it's supposed to do.
Or like the Legos.
And no, that one wasn't that good. Forged in Fire. That's why I said hypocritically. I am a hypocrite about reality TV show, because there's only one that I'll watch.
Well, and we watch one that isn't quite a reality TV show per your definition, but it is a reality TV show, which is Alone.
Yeah.
That you're not necessarily competing directly with one another.
Yeah, that one's just brutal.
It is.
You just can't look away from that train wreck. That's really what it is, you know?
Really? Is that the way you feel?
Yeah, because these people are putting themselves in a dire situation that in reality should only last for like 5 days, 10 days before they would be rescued by those people who are looking for them. But yet they have to suffer for 50, 60 days of going through a winter period with no food, very little water. The food resources they have are abysmal. They're losing almost 30 to 40% of their body fat during the show. It's pretty hardcore. I mean, I can't not watch it because it's just so fascinating that someone would do this, but it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible show.
Well, I'm going to attempt to read books by John Sr., and therefore we'll probably want to throw our TV away at the end, so...
Okay, sounds good. We'll just get rid of all the streaming. It'll be great, except for the Angel app. We'll keep the Angel app.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, on that note, tell us what you think about the parent test, if we really were off on our opinions or our perceptions of this show, if you have an idea that, it is it is possible to have a style and let it be consistent in your parenting method.
That's right.
Even despite many different varieties of children coming out of your body.
That's right.
Drop us a line.
Yeah, you can answer the question on a scale of 1 to 10. How old man grumpiness was Dale?
10 out of 10.
May the Lord guide and direct our journey.
You can reach us at...
CatholicHitch@gmail.com.
And if you think that we need to improve ourselves and you wouldn't give us 5 stars, write us an email to tell us how we can improve. Otherwise, if you think we're 5 stars, leave us a review.
Okay, sounds great. May the Lord guide and direct our journey.
Amen. I don't know why I did that.
I don't know either.
Sometimes I lose my mind.
5 weeks. 5 weeks.
4.5.
4.5.